Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a different type of video, and we're going to be discussing what Alex Pereira's ceiling at light heavyweight might be. Off the back of UFC 291, I really started to think about it, and I feel like a lot of you guys did too, so let me bring you some of my ideas. So, if you've been living under a rock, Alex Pereira went out at UFC 291 and defeated Jan Blachowicz via split decision. It was a super close fight where, honestly, I didn't find any guy to be too impressive, to be honest with you. I thought it was a pretty basic fight. Pereira looked a little timid. I mean, it's kind of a tough word to use for Alex Pereira, but I feel like you guys know what I mean. Like, he didn't look like his usual self. He looked a little more hesitant. He wasn't as punch heavy. We rarely saw that left hook, to be honest with you. I think he was just waiting for the moment for it and just didn't get to use it as much as he wanted. So, yeah, I just didn't find his performance to be that great in this fight, to be honest. What did surprise me about his performance, though, was how well he was able to defend Jan in the grappling exchanges. In the first round, Jan was able to get to his back, and he was honestly there for like a good 3, I would say almost 4 minutes. And he was sort of threatening with submissions, and Pereira held him off. So he did well in that department and was able to match Jan to where he didn't really give Jan that advantage. But ultimately, the reason he won this fight was just because Blachowicz gassed out after the first round. He looked like a zombie heading into the third especially. And I just think he was in better shape than Jan, and that's ultimately what got it done for him. He was able to throw more on the feet. Jan wasn't really throwing, and after that first attempt, when Jan would get takedowns on Alex or try to, he would just be too tired to do anything with it. So Pereira was definitely able to win the fight like that, and I wouldn't put it too much on his actual performance. Now, I know it sounded like I was discrediting Alex Pereira there, which I kind of was, to be honest. I'm still super excited for him in this division. The light heavyweight division is probably the weirdest division in the UFC. Actually, definitely. We've had 2 champions vacate their belts within the past year, and we now have a lot of just moving pieces going on at the top especially, and no real clear dominant player, which is honestly a good thing. The big names in this division right now are probably Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill, who are both injured, Alex Pereira, Jan Blachowicz, and Magomed Ankalaev. Those are the 5 names I would really put in title conversations, and after Blachowicz just lost to Pereira, I guess he's out of that conversation. So it's really only down to 4. And in terms of these 3 other opponents for Pereira here, I think these are all amazing fights and all fights that would do very well. In terms of who I want to see Alex fight next, though, I think it's got to be Yuri Prochazka. I think everybody is thinking Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. I think that would be an amazing fight. I think it would be a lot of fun. Definitely could be the main event to a pay-per-view, 100%. I think Pereira is a big enough star now to headline a pay-per-view, and I think Prochazka has a lot of fans as well, so I think that fight could definitely be made a main event, and that's probably the one I would want to see if I had to pick right now. However, we now know that Yuri Prochazka obviously vacated his title before Jamal Hill, and he is injured. However, what's been the news recently is that Prochazka might be ready to come back sometime soon, potentially as early as the end of the year. So could we see Prochazka versus Pereira in December? Maybe. That could be fun. But let's just say Yuri doesn't end up coming back before the end of the year. Let's take a look at some of the other options Pereira could have to fight right now. So after thinking about it for a bit, there really is only one guy that Pereira could fight, and that's Magomed Ankalaev. Everybody else just doesn't really make sense. You can't really justify them fighting for a title, so I'm going to go with Ankalaev here. I think Ankalaev and Pereira on paper is just such a great matchup. I think they match up really nicely with each other, and I think it'd be a great fight. Magomed Ankalaev does have a fight booked right now against Johnny Walker that is slated to go down at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi, but if he's needed to fight for the title, then I'm sure they would have no issue with doing that. And that's if we need to have Pereira on that December pay-per-view, then I think you need a guy like Ankalaev, because who knows if Yuri's going to be ready. Once again, if Yuri is ready, definitely make that fight. And I think they definitely would make that fight, because that fight would sell a lot better than a matchup with Ankalaev. But Ankalaev's the second option here. You can't throw any of these other guys into a title shot right now. It just wouldn't make sense. And this fight would be really good either way. So what's Pereira's ceiling at light heavyweight? Well, I honestly think he could end up being one of the biggest names in this division. In my opinion, the light heavyweight division in the UFC is the weakest out of all the men's divisions. Not saying it's bad, it's just a little bit weaker than the other divisions in terms of having either star power or extremely dominant fighters. And I think Pereira can be that guy for this division. I don't see him really losing to a lot of the guys here. I think he seemed to really understand how to defend takedowns a lot better now since working with Glover, and from what we saw in the Jan fight, and he was able to defend Jan, who was on his back for a good portion of that first round. So if he can get past wrestlers, then there's no reason he can't be a dominant fighter in this division. I mean, we know how good of a striker he is. I don't see too many guys really beating him on the feet here. So if he can develop a wrestling side to his game, or at least be able to stop takedowns super efficiently, then I see no reason as to why he can't be the champion here, and also the biggest name in the division. I also believe that a fight that will be on the cards in the future will be the trilogy fight between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira, and I'm hoping that that happens at light heavyweight for the 205 belt. I think it will happen there. I don't see Pereira going back down to middleweight at any point, but I think it's going to really come down to if Izzy wants that fight. I think Izzy may be a lot more confident now because he was able to defeat him, but going up in weight, Pereira doesn't have that much of a weight cut. His chin isn't going to be as knocked as it would be at 185, so I don't know. There's a lot more risks with Izzy fighting Pereira at 205, but I still think that fight will happen at some point. Maybe even as early as the end of 2024. I honestly think that could be a possibility. That's going to do it for this video, though. I want to know what you guys think, though. What do you guys think Pereira's ceiling is at light heavyweight? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking the channel. And I'm going to have a couple more videos rolling out over the next week, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, take care.